Yeah, we got crazy snow. It's like really, really, really snowing hard. Strange. Okay. I think, Tom, are you there?
I am. Hi.
Hi. So glad to see you. And I'm so happy. Thank you so much for agreeing to be here with me today. This is Tom Paladino. And Tom is amazing. I just think that the work that you're doing is really incredible. You work with the Scalar Wave machine, and I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and what is Scalar.
Sure. Thanks for the invitation, Lisa.
Thank you.
I'm a researcher. I work with what is known as scalar wave or scalar light technology. And in very simple terms, that's sunlight or starlight. And in many ways, I'm following in the footsteps of a great inventor, Nikola Tesla. Many of you know that name, Nikola Tesla. He was the first man to discover scalar energy and to harness it. Well, I in turn have been able to harness this energy by way of instrumentation. I have scalar light instruments that can control this energy. It's not electricity, it's a different dimension, if you will. So with these scientific instruments, scalar light instruments, I can do incredible things that you cannot readily achieve with electricity.
Right. So scalar, as far as I understand it, it's sort of like it's been described maybe as starlight, as sunlight, as you talk about it as chi, prana, like sort of the life force energy that we're all made out of. Is that it's not the same as electromagnetic energy? It's this other kind of thing.
Precisely. Right. So scalar energy really is chi or prana. It's a divine energy. Some people call it life force energy. It's not electricity. And so we have to consider that there's two different properties, one for electromagnetic energy and one for scalar energy. And these are two different dimensions, so they don't behave identically. There are distinct differences.
Yeah, what are the differences?
What I've found is that scalar energy provides consummate control over nature. Now, we use electricity today, and we have indirect control over nature with electricity. And electricity is a tool, and it's a great tool. But there's something much more sublime, something that affords us a greater grasp of nature and the ability to control, to have dominion over nature. And so with scalar energy, we really have consummate control over nature. And I'll explain how I use that consummate control over physical nature to improve human health.
Yeah, I would love that. It sounds sort of like cool on one hand and sort of scary on the other hand. Like, I wonder if sort of trying to control nature is what got us into trouble in the first place with what's happening in the world right now.
Yeah, these are very powerful instruments. They're not toys. So to put it into this perspective, the scalar light instruments that I have can control a molecular form. They can either assemble a molecule or break it down. So with that said, I've discovered the technique to have mastery over the physical geometry, if you will, of matter. I can create a molecule or I can break it apart. So with my scalar energy instruments, I developed a technique in which I can easily break down the molecular geometry, the molecular structure of germs, pathogens such as viruses, bacteria, and fungi. Again, these instruments give me consummate control over the molecular form of matter. And in this case, I direct my effort to that of microorganisms, microbes, germs. And so with these instruments, I have dominion, I have direct control over a virus or a bacterium or a protozoan. It's incredible what this energy will afford. Again, it's a consummate control over molecular form.
So viruses, if we use that as an example, so what's on our mind right now, have like, they're pretty simple organisms. They have a very strong, like, cellular outer shell, and then inside of it, there's not much to them if you break that outer shell. And is what you're saying that this technology you have sort of breaks the molecular bonds that hold the shell together, destroying the outer shell of the virus and then basically destroying the virus?
Yeah, yes, in part. And then also to add to that, These instruments will allow me to disassemble, to fragment the DNA or the RNA of a virus. Now, if you imagine, there are hydrogen bonds that hold together the nucleic acid of any virus. And I release those hydrogen bonds. So what happens? The RNA and the DNA falls apart. And that's the consummate control that I have with this instrument. I have consummate control over viruses. So I can fragment, I can disassemble a virus with this instrument. And I've proven that over the past 8-9 years. And we have diagnostic tests to support that statement of mine. So imagine we have a light instrument. We're not working with surgery or with any type of invasive therapy. It's a light session. It's a light therapy. And this administration of light will break down, will fragment the nucleic acid, the genomic material found in any virus.
I know, Tom, that you've worked a lot with people with AIDS in other countries, and that you have some pretty substantial scientific research. The PCR tests, the before and after tests of people who have had that virus, and that there you have. And I say that because it sounds like a claim that would draw skepticism in people that didn't, where you weren't providing scientific research to back it up, but you really have that, don't you?
I do. We have diagnostic tests from hundreds of clinics around the world. People who have suffered from anything from HIV to human papillomavirus to the herpes virus. And invariably, these test results are negative, no viral load. So I consider that, on account of the fact that we've worked with hundreds of clinics or hundreds of laboratories that have at least performed these tests, and the polymerase chain reaction test is what I consider probably the most accurate test to detect either the presence or absence of a pathogen. I would say we have now a mountain of evidence from thousands of people around the world who can attest to the fact that we can eradicate microbes, germs from their body.
Wow, that's incredible. And how, of course, this is something that's totally on our minds right now with this COVID-19, this novel coronavirus. So what can you tell us about that? Like what do you think about it? What is it? And the other story that we should talk about too is that personally I've been on Scalar for since January, because my friend Michelle met you at this expo in Massachusetts, and she was crazy about this technology and just took a shine to it. And I'd like to share my story about having been on it for months now. But before we get to that, tell us a little bit about how you're working with COVID-19 and what you think about it.
Sure. COVID-19, as we recognize, is a new virus. We've never seen it before. It is a coronavirus, and that still does not present a challenge to a scalar wave technology. Everything has a molecular geometry. And understand, you simply have to find your way into the very genomic material of a virus and instruct the RNA of COVID-19 to break apart. And that's what we're doing. And that's what we've been successful with. Now, I will go on record as of today, which is March 23rd, 2020. We are working presently with at least 10,000 people around the world. And not one of those persons has experienced any significant symptomology of the COVID-19 virus. We've even had some people who they suspected they had been exposed to COVID-19, and they had a PCR test, and all those test results have come back negative. So this is my point. With this consummate control that scalar energy affords, this divine energy, we can easily break down the genetic structure of COVID-19. And if you can break down the genetic structure of a virus, that virus no longer exists. And that's what I'm saying. That's what we're doing.
It's pretty miraculous, and
Yes, it is.
very, encouraging that in this time when we have so much fear, there's so many people impacted. I know that you have very generously you have normally a 14 or 15-day trial for people who want to try Scalar. And the other thing that's so interesting about it is long distance, right? So really all they have to do is provide a photograph, with their face. And then you're able to send this long distance, and you normally have a 14-day or 15-day trial.
Right.
You've extended it to 30 days.
Yes.
During this time, so that people can get themselves and up to 7 people that they know
Yes.
to receive Scalar. And I would say do it. I mean, I put all my family on it, and
Yes.
my
I'll
86-year-old immune compromised father, who still goes to the market because he won't. I can't get him to stop. And it just gives me some peace of mind and faith for my family, knowing that they're receiving that.
Thank you. Let me mention that. So when we work with this energy, we can work remotely. Imagine that this energy can be administered like a satellite would send energy or a signal anywhere in the world. So people send me photographs. All I need is a photograph of your face, some part of your anatomy. And I place your photograph inside the scalar energy instrument. And the instrument performing the function of a satellite will send you a signal, and that signal is instructive, and then that instruction is to break apart the microbes, the microorganisms in your body. And that indeed is what happens. People will upload photographs to us. We do have a free 30-day session in light of the pandemic now. And we will work with people for 30 days. And during those 30 days, on a daily basis, we will be able to break apart viruses, bacteria, protozoan, fungi in your body. Now, we're also on a daily basis targeting COVID-19. So my proclamation is this: while you're under our therapy, we will be treating you, working with you on a daily basis for COVID-19. So you will not be infected during that treatment session.
Wow. I know. Like, how long do you think people need to be on it? So your sort of standard is, I mean, you have the trial for 30 days, but your sort of recommendation is like 4 months, I think, that you think most people should be on things, right?
We like to see people stay on our therapy for 4 months because there's other points that we like to emphasize. We also have a nutrient therapy that we perform on a daily basis. So not only do we rid the body of microbes, cleanse the body of microbes, pathogens, we also have the ability to assemble nutrients on a daily basis. That's part of our standardized session. And to round it off, these instruments also serve to balance brain waves or your chakras on a daily basis. So we cleanse the body of germs, we provide nutrients in the body, and we balance your chakras every day. And the reason we ask people to try it for 4 months is that healing takes time, okay? And we want to work with you for a prolonged period of time. Sometimes 1 month is not enough. The point of us offering a free 1 month therapy for everybody right now is due to the pandemic. I've never done that before, but I'm opening the doors. The entire world, Lisa, can sign up for 30 days of free sessions. Yeah. No questions asked. We have to get ahead of this pandemic, and this is one of the ways I want to be able to address and treat thousands of people around the world, maybe millions someday.
Right. So there's no really limit to the amount of people that you can treat with this.
That's true. That's true. On any given day, I could easily work with 200, 300 million people. That's not a problem. Wow. Remember, I'm working with people by way of a photograph, and we have an automatic photo uploader that can miniaturize the photograph, and without hyperbole, we could easily work with 200, 300 million people a day.
So it's super interesting for me to talk to you about this because I've been thinking about this one. Now, if it's working with bacteria, how do you not destroy the helpful bacteria or the biome we want to?
The way I target this energy is I actually take photographs of pathogens, of parasites, and I place those pathogens or parasites inside the instrument. So the instrument then is instructed to destroy those pathogens, those parasites found on the photographs. And hence I do not work with probiotic bacteria because I simply don't include that photograph inside the instrument. So if you will, the instrument does what you tell it to do. I have photographs of germs, microbes, and I tell the instrument to look at those photographs of germs, microbes, and to accordingly break down the molecular structure of those
I
microbes.
see. So it's only the ones that you target. It's not like a full on, like every
Yes,
bacteria that in you that's going to go.
that's correct. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. I didn't know that. So, like I said, I've been on, and I bought a year. I bought a year. I got Michelle and I got 7 people to go a year, and the price is very reasonable if you get
Thank you.
at that level. So so I've been experiencing it, and I noticed that I'm pretty sensitive to energy since I work as an energy healer and have been doing that for a long time. And I noticed a difference. I know a lot of people say they can't feel it, right? But I did, and I felt and I continue to feel. I can almost tell because I think you run it at like 9 o'clock in the morning or
Yes.
something, and
Yes.
pretty much at 9 o'clock in the morning I feel this almost on the outside of my skin, like almost like a static electricity kind of feeling that that goes through my whole body, and it lasts maybe 15 or 20 minutes. I don't know, but am I the only one that can feel it, or have you heard that from other people?
No, you are sensitive, and many people can feel it. And frankly, a lot of women feel it more than men for whatever reason. That's not a biased statement. That's accurate. But you are correct. At 9 o'clock in the morning, I live in Florida on the Eastern time zone. So you are on the Eastern time zone. So likewise, you are experiencing your experience coincides with the treatment, which begins at 9 a.m. And as being sensitive as you are, you feel that. And some people do feel that surge of energy at 9 o'clock in the morning. So thank you for drawing reference to that. Keep in mind, it is a surge of energy, but it's painless. And the beauty of it, people have to do nothing. I don't ask you to change your lifestyle. This does not require any change in your medication or the way you eat or your diet, etc. So we do all the work. All you have to do is submit a photograph. It can't be easier than that.
So cool. So I heard, it's so hard to know what kind of information you're getting these days because there's so much crazy information out there. But I heard a rumor that there are 2 strains of the virus now. Strain L and strain S is what I heard. And then one of them is more virulent than the other one. One of them is the one that people get and don't really get that sick, and the other one is the one that sort of takes you out at the knees no matter what. Have you heard that? Have you heard? Are you
I
aware?
have. I've heard of those 2 forms. Yes, L and
Okay.
S. Go on. Yes.
Yeah. I just wondered about that, and I'm assuming that you get pictures of those 2 strains, and that as the strains emerge, you find pictures of them and put them in. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Very good.
Yeah.
Yes. Very good. And that's a daily exercise on my part. I look for new strains, new photographs of these strains. And what I've found is this, Lisa, no matter what the serovar, no matter how the mutation, as long as you have a few photographs of a virus, you can destroy potentially say 96, 97% of its genetic structure. So even though there are mutations, the homology at least is say 95, 96, 97% identical. And the fact that I work with photographs of viruses, then I could destroy accordingly 95, 96, 97% of the genomic material, because every photograph that I have represents some type of common denominator of all the mutations. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Thank you for explaining that. So I know that they call this COVID-19 a slippery virus, which means that it mutates quickly, that it has that's it has a fast mutation, many mutations, and that's part of the problem with it, or why it's a strange thing.
Okay, and to speak to that point, on account of the fact that I work with photographs of viruses, I don't have to interpret the genomic material.
Right.
The instrument will interpret that genetic structure, and I simply have to turn on the instrument and then direct that energy. So I take, if you will, human ingenuity and human thinking out of the equation, so to speak. I have a light instrument, a scalar light instrument, and I work with media, which are photographs, light media photographs, in order to instruct that instrument. So my process, the pro forma is rather fail-proof.
Mhm.
Okay, and the
Yeah.
instrument does what you tell it to, and then the photographs provide the interpretation. Now, the problem with drugs and vaccines is you always have to, in some way, take into consideration the mutations and how some of these microbes can camouflage themselves, or antigenic masking. We don't have to worry about that with a scalar instrument because, again, we have consummate control over the virus. We don't have to worry about any adaptation of the virus or any microbe for that matter. So scalar energy is the new tool of medical science, and scalar energy will be used broadly to eradicate microbes in the future.
Well, I was so interested in it before even COVID came around because I live in New England and Lyme is really already a pandemic here. People don't
Right,
talk about it. It's more an
right.
epidemic anyway. Super prevalent and ridiculously hard to treat if you have unless you have scalar. So I was excited about it because I see in my practice Lyme, like, you know, everyone comes in with Lyme and it's a very debilitating disease if people don't catch it. And I think that this also works for that, doesn't it? So
Yes, it does.
yeah,
Yes, we're able to break apart Borrelia. Any Lyme spirochete can be disassembled by way of a scalar light instrument. All I need is a photograph of that species of Borrelia, and we can likewise break it apart. We can fragment that bacterium. So this is the good news that we have to report to mankind today. There are ways to eradicate these pathogens. It's very simple, it's very straightforward, it's painless, it's safe, it's easy. There are no negative side effects because we're working with this pure energy, this sunlight. It's not a chemical process. We work with the energy of the sun.
it's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. You know, it's I read a lot of these old sort of I was reading a book recently that's a very old book about occult, like mystery school stuff, and that goes way back into almost Egyptian times. And that I was struck because it says that this healing wave would be solar energy, and they didn't use this word scalar energy, but even back in the time of the Egyptians, it was like
Yes.
sunlight was the
Yes.
the healing light, and this there was this description of what that light was like, and it was almost a perfect description of scalar light. And I made the connection because I was reading your stuff getting ready for this to talk to you, and I was like, wow, I'm finding exactly that same thing in this kind of
Yes.
ancient wisdom teaching
Yes.
from Egypt.
Yes, yes. Many people
Cool.
can capture a scalar wave. It's all around us. Our thinking, our brain waves are really scalar waves. We think by virtue of the fact that we have scalar waves in our brain. So thinking is really a function of scalar energy, of a scalar wave. So don't think that this is something that is esoteric. It's not. Scalar energy simply is filling the universe, but we just haven't realized that there's two energies. If you ask most physicists today, they'll only attend to the electromagnetic spectrum. They won't open their mind to a second dimension, which is
Right.
scalar energy. Well, that's a shame because they limit themselves. There are two energies, and that other energy, scalar energy, many cultures have revered throughout the
That's right.
centuries. Yeah,
Like the
they've called it,
Egyptians.
yeah, they
There's
call
a
it chi or prana. They realize it had a divine origin, and I think it does have a divine origin because it doesn't die. There's no entropy to this energy. It's a long-lasting, eternal signal. Imagine that, a signal, an energy signal that cannot fade. It does not experience entropy.
Well, that's amazing, and there are a lot of people now sort of on the cutting edge and the cutting edge of quantum physics and things like that. We'll talk about plasma now as sort
Yes.
of the electric universe or the plasmic universe as opposed to the electromagnetic universe. And I wonder if that's sort of what they're talking about, that plasma is the
Yes.
same of what you're talking about.
Yeah, very, very good. I see many people try and describe a distant star as a quasar or some type of pulsation. Well, that's what scalar energy is. So our stars at the very core, at the very center of every star is a scalar environment. And therefrom, as scalar energy escapes from a star, then it converts into electromagnetic energy. So if you look at the universe, we have a scalar universe. It is scalar energy as the primary and as the initial energy, the initial source of light for the entire universe. Electricity and magnetism are simply a derivative and really an inferior type of energy.
So cool. It's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Tom. Is there anything else that you want to say or anything else that
we're going to offer the 30-day trial to everybody. And get out your pen. The website is freescalar.net. That's spelled SCALAR. Anybody in the world, since we're having a pandemic now, can sign up and send in 7 photographs of your entire family. www.freescalar.net. Visit the website. You can send in your friends, you can send in your immediate relatives or a dog or a cat for that matter. Tell people about our offer. We want to get a handle on this pandemic. That's why we're opening up the floodgates. We want everybody to share in this free trial. And I will make this statement: while you're under our care, under our sessions, we will be able to eradicate viruses and bacteria from your body, including COVID-19.
Thank you for the work you're doing, Tom. And
Thank you.
it feels very heroic to me at this, this time. Like clearly we're in a pandemic, and my wish would be that everyone who works on the front line now, the first responders, the nurses, doctors, who are just being so exposed right now, would be like who I would put at the front of the line to receive Scalar. Like, can we help those people stay safe during this?
That's a good point. If you have somebody in the medical community, just sign them up for the 30-day trial. Let them know what we have to offer. Help us get this message out. We're a grassroots movement. I do not work with government intentionally, and I'm going to avoid big business intentionally. I want to keep this for the benefit of the people. I don't want this type of technology abused. So we are a grassroots effort, and I would thank you for your support.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for your heroic actions, and let's get the word out. And I so appreciate your time today to talk about it.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks.